But let's see what Tom Murphy thinks about this question as we welcome in the beat writer for the Arkansas Razorbacks for the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette and Whole Hog Sports. Tom, we'll talk some basketball in just a sec, but when you look ahead to this football team, and I know it's March 25th right now, and there's a heck of a lot of things that can happen between now and then. What do you think is going to be the better unit? Is it going to be the Arkansas offense, or is it going to be the Arkansas defense?
Well, that's a great question, because I think they were both, comparable in their terms of production last year. With the clause that it depends on how KJ Jefferson and Malik Hornsby in the quarterback position plays, I think the offense has a chance because of if you get the ball in the hands of Traylon Burks and Mike Woods and Hudson Henry and Blake Kern and Devion Warren and Traylon Smith and so on, if they just execute and get the ball in those guys' hands, those are veteran guys running behind 5 returning starters with some guys on campus who we think can push for starting jobs on the offensive line. They have a chance to be better. And clearly they're going to be clearly KJ Jefferson and Malik Hornsby are the dual threat quarterbacks who just slot right into how Kendall Briles wants to attack defenses. So if they can limit their turnovers and just execute within the offense, I think the offense has a chance to be better. We all know that the defensive front has to get people who can get into the backfield and disrupt quarterbacks' rhythm and timing. And didn't have much of it last year, and they're going with a 3-man front. And so it looks to me like they're going to have to send blitzers and stuff and try to beat offensive linemen with some twists and stunts and some guys coming from different angles to make that happen. But I do think that both sides have a chance to be better than they were last year, which in turn, if you limit your turnovers and you get more takeaways on the other side, gives you a chance to win the 50-50 games, the swing games, of which they lost a few and won a few last year. So it's going to be just an intriguing season, in my view. I
think so too. Tom, let's go back to the baseball games last night as well before we get into Arkansas football. So 2 things. One, you sweep Memphis. You got Mississippi State on the horizon, top 3 matchup. And Tommy and I have been discussing, we hadn't spent a great deal of time on this because of how much basketball has taken up. What is your feeling headed into this weekend into Starkville on how things are going to shake out against the Mississippi State Bulldogs?
Well, Mississippi State's starter on Friday, Christian McLeod's a tough lefty. And the lefties that have had great change-ups have slowed Arkansas down to this point. To me, there's still a few spots in the batting order where if it's a real stud pitcher, they're having trouble getting production, and in some cases having trouble moving runners and just executing things that you want to do. If you got a guy on second, no outs, just make sure what you do in your at bat is move that guy to third base. They need to get better there. You're only as good as your starting pitcher in the next game, right? And so Patrick Wicklander throwing on Friday, he could be good like he threw against Alabama, or he could be bad like he was against Oklahoma. We don't know. But I do think we can expect a fine start from Zebulon Vermillion in the Saturday game. And then, Lyle Lockhart has been pretty consistent for several weeks in a row now. So, I think it's which team goes out and has productive outs, gets some 2-out hits, plays the best defense that will wind up winning the series. And as Dave Van Horn pointed out to my question last night, it looks like Dudy Noble Field is going to be at full capacity for this. So it looks like Mississippi's opening up pretty quick, 12 to 14,000. They're not used to playing in front of that crowd for the past, since the season started. So that's going to be a surprising new element too. And you've got to think that Mississippi State, playing as well as they are, pitching as well as they are, should be favored to win 2 of 3.
It's great on one hand because of basketball success, but you really hate that a 2 versus 3 matchup's not going to get its full due even though it's on the road this weekend. But this is a Goliath versus Goliath deal, and I made the analogy with Ty earlier. It's like musical chairs. This SEC and this Western Division, you're going to get maybe 4 national seeds that host super regionals. I don't think the committee would give more than that to one league. And there's like 6 or 7 teams. This is going to be one of those head-to-head weekends, Tom, that really matter perhaps come end of May.
Oh, it really can. And y'all remember coming down the stretch of 2018, it was much like this. And I think there was 2 or 3 SEC versus SEC setups for super regionals, and I think most of them came to fruition. You know, Arkansas against South Carolina. I want to say that Mississippi State played Vanderbilt, and Mississippi State won it on the road, if I remember. And I think there might have been, I think Auburn played Florida in that deal. So it's the same thing here. Titanic matchup, and a program that's very, very proud playing at home, that's going to be loud with the number 1 last week, Razorbacks coming in there. That's going to be some fun baseball to keep track of.
Just winning 1 of 3, going 1 and 2 this weekend is better than you might think. Just hearing it off the cuff.
Absolutely, yeah. Just getting 1 win for sure, and then if you end up winning this series and you're the Razorbacks, then you've done a heck of a weekend's worth of work. All
right, let's talk some football before we go, because obviously another big week of preparation, building towards another big Saturday. We had a text in here wanting to know, and I know we touched on this earlier in the week about Rocket Sanders, the young freshman at running back. What do you think his ceiling is? What do you think the potential for him to be after watching one practice? I know it's hard to draw a conclusion, but what are you seeing from this young Razorback running back after just kind of one chance to lay eyes on him in a Razorback practice?
Well, he looks the part to start with, and I think he's listed at, y'all help me out here, is it 6'2", in the 210s maybe? So very good size for a running back. Obviously a guy who's, got skill position oozing out of his pores, but I think, was more a receiver. So he's got to learn the position first. He's got to learn all the adjustments. He's got to learn where pressure's coming from so he can pass protect, all those things. But if he does pick up on it all, then this season, Traylon Smith is an established SEC standout player. He's your starter if he's healthy going into the year. But if you can work in Rocket Sanders with T.J. Hammonds and possibly some other guys, he's a guy who, if you have a lead in the fourth quarter, you can hammer some people. You can hammer on 3rd and 1, pound him in there and move the chains. And I think Sam Pittman has a vision of how he wants his offense to run. And that's if you have a lead in the fourth quarter and you face 3rd and 3s, that you can win the line of scrimmage and your back can get that 3 yards and you just wear people down. And so I think Rocket Sanders, before he leaves Arkansas, could be a starting back with 1,000-yard potential easy.
Tom Murphy with us here on the Morning Rush. Tom, a little basketball stuff for you. We've been discussing this morning when you think about the impact that this recruiting in the Sweet 16 has had on this basketball program moving forward. But I think it's also brought people to the center point of this team is gearing back to potentially making at least a maybe a jump to the Final Four. Nolan Richardson was on SEC this morning yesterday, had some really good comments about that. What is the perception right now of Arkansas basketball from people outside the state of Arkansas, you think, at this current moment?
Well, if they've seen enough of them that they know that Arkansas's got such a versatile roster that they can play in a lot of different ways. I mean, they can go small on you and be really fast in the backcourt. They can go big, and they have a 7'3" guy who can attack you from the perimeter and help you with the rebound. I mean, and Justin Smith can be your 5 guy, as we've seen in this tournament, and play a lot of different styles. And to me, that bodes well, no matter who you're matched up against, that you can win a gritty defensive standoff type of game. And Arkansas, by the way, doesn't get enough credit for how well it ranks in the defensive analytics. But they also can run and score, with all exhibits being all the 90-point and 100-point games they've had this year. So a team that can play a lot of different styles, to be very explosive, I'd like to see them get off to a little bit better starts. They've trailed by double digits in both of their NCAA games so far, and you'd like to see them get on top of a team like Oral Roberts. That if you can do that, maybe they doubt themselves a little bit. But I'll tell you this: Razorback fans see that pass to a regional final, against Baylor or Villanova, and that gets you greedy to get past this Oral Roberts team and then have a titanic matchup in the regional final.
Tom, you've been around a while and seen a lot go on in the state, but you haven't been here since Arkansas reached the second weekend of the SEC tournament. Any surprise for you as someone that's covered this program very intimately over the last, what have you been here, a decade or so now? 12 years?
Yeah, I think this is about 12 years.
Yeah.
And,
what's your take from this week of the reaction from the fan base as someone that wasn't here in the mid-'90s covering the Razorbacks then?
Honestly, I have been somewhat pleasantly surprised that the attention just gets ratcheted up. And, of course, Twitter was not around back in '96. Mm-hmm. And so you even see more feedback and more attention and everything. I mean, hey, Ty has to be proud of kind of getting in the middle of the whole deal that revved everybody up on the Chris Beard versus Eric Musselman matchup and things like that. I mean, think about it. Nolan Richardson for the championship game played the Duke is a smart team and Arkansas is the aggressive defensive team. No,
the smart guys versus the dumb guys. It's smart.
That's right. And so I remember that. I mean, I've kept up with Arkansas basketball even if I wasn't here. And I just think it's something that Eric Musselman has established himself, and Wally wrote about it in his column. He's due a raise and try to lock this guy up because he can put together a roster. He can entice grad transfers to come in knowing that they're going to have to fight for spots on the roster like Vance Jackson's had, and can make it happen. So I think Arkansas fans see a period of their basketball program where challenging for Sweet 16 and challenging for the Final Four is going to be a yearly event, and that's pretty doggone exciting. It's like following this baseball team.
That's right.
It's hard to say it any better than that. Tom, we appreciate it, buddy. Hopefully you'll get to watch some good games, Arkansas baseball, Arkansas basketball, and a slew of other NCAA tournament games this weekend, and we'll discuss it and recap it all on Monday, man.
Yeah, it sounds great, y'all, and another fine weekend of sports watching for all of us.
Boy, that is the truth. So, all right, Tom Murphy with us here on The Morning Rush.